Boom, 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 boom. Get it, get it. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I was just getting to the groovy part of it, baby.
Right? Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
I
I
am
am.
well.
Excuse me. You asked me, and then I asked you. You know, you do that awkward thing socially sometimes. Like,
Right?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am good.
Good. I was thinking about us asking each other that question, and I know sometimes you come on and you do a great job. I'd be like, you know what? This is how I'm doing this week, and this is what we're dealing with. And that's why we have this podcast, right? And I think about how when I answer it, I say, I'm good. And sometimes I see your face, you're like, you want to say I'm good. And you're like, no, I'm going to be authentic.
Hmm.
And it's not that I feel inauthentic when I say I'm good. I'm just also used to dealing with both, and
Right?
knowing that this might be difficult right now and it's going to work in my favor, but it's difficult. But what I focus on the majority of the time is the good stuff and the stuff, that I'm excited about our work. So usually if I'm coming on the podcast, that's the better part. Um, and I was thinking about that this week and how I love that we can be authentic and that we have the opportunity to share wellness. We're working on the audiobook, and it's specifically for too the cash flow for authors, for people whose voices we want to uplift. So I'm super excited about where we are. So this week I'm good. I'm really good.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I said I'm well. I'm dealing with a lot of big stuff. And
Yeah.
you know how sometimes when it's so overwhelming, you can't even talk about it? That's honestly where I'm
Yes.
at right now.
Yeah.
So definitely don't want to cry on air.
Yeah.
Definitely don't. So
You
I'm
got
just going to
this.
say I am well in
Yes.
this moment because I
Yes.
am. I missed talking with you last week. I was on an epic road trip,
Yeah.
and for my friends who know me and our listeners, like I love road trips. Like
Yeah.
give me a good road trip any day. And can I just give a shout out? I have this app and I've had it for years and then I kind of forgot about it because of the
Yeah.
pandemic
Mm.
and I re-downloaded it and y'all, I just want to tell you it's called Roadside America and it tells you where all the weird and quirky art is in the world. Not all of it,
Mhm.
because some of it's not updated. But it was so fun. You get to say, like, are you willing to go 5 miles out of your way? Are you willing to go 10 miles out of your way?
Mm.
And you can tell the route that you're going.
Yeah.
There is some weird art out there, y'all. Like we saw just random legs in the middle of a field in Amarillo,
What?
Texas.
Okay.
We saw the world's
Wait, I
largest.
have a question.
Go
Did
ahead.
the leg look like the leg from A Christmas Story, or did it look like something different?
No, it looked like two legs.
Okay.
So it was like two legs just out in the middle of this field, and it had been graffitied. And then, by this time it's now chained off, right?
Mhm.
We saw the world's largest Bowie knife in Bowie,
Mhm.
Texas,
Oh,
Guinness
that
Book
was
of
the
World's
picture.
Record.
I saw that
Yeah, that's
picture
the picture
online.
I started with. I haven't put more pictures out. I need to put more pictures out. We saw
Yeah.
the world's largest branding iron, and I mean nobody's going to
Mhm.
be shocked that this trip started in Texas with those
Yeah.
kind of things, right? But there is some like really beautiful art out there. There's some
Yeah.
weird and wacky art out there. We
Mhm.
met some incredible people. We met artists. We were on the old Route 66, which was
Yeah.
ridiculously fun.
Mm.
Um, there were some things we missed because of heat or because of the time of day that we're going to try to catch again. But
Right. Right.
it was really one of those road trips. I don't know about y'all, but anymore, I'm so busy, or it's like I'm trying to get from point A to point B, that often I don't allow myself the space to wander.
Mhm.
And we wandered. Like we had a few destinations that we wanted to be at by a certain time, but really the majority of the trip was having fun, seeing weird art, and just like meeting people along the way. And when you allow yourself that space to see what's going to happen. I mean, we ended up in Vega, Texas, which I told them I would give them a shout out.
Mhm.
And I won't I'm going to give a shout out, but I'm also going to I have a whole story to tell you about that, about a
Yeah.
young woman artist that died when she was 30, but I haven't
Wow.
read the book yet. He gave me
Okay.
a book, and
Let's
I
talk
want to
about
read
it.
the book, and then I want to lift up her voice and who she
Yes.
was, because it was pretty magical.
Let's
But
talk about it after we introduce ourselves
I
because you
love
guys
it.
know we are conversational and we lightly produce the show, but I want to make sure that this story does not get edited out and we'll
Oh
include it
yeah, let's
in
do it. Let's
the
introduce.
resources
Go
for
ahead.
today. Yes. So, welcome to episode 122, guys. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur, an Amazon bestselling author, the founder of Shalo Glow, an all natural handmade personal products company that helps people with dry skin glow from head to toe. I am a champion for your self care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, Amazon best-selling published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade your self and community care.
Yes, together we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co founders of Women Connected in Wisdom Community.
And we like to get together every week with expert guests for weekly intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
Yes.
How do we do
Ooh,
this?
all of it, right? All of it, yes, and especially because, like we were talking about, seasons change. People are different at different points, you know? I'm thinking about Shannon Ivy. We're working on the audiobook, and I reached out to her, and there was a sentence that was missing in her chapter that I really wanted to include, and so going through her chapter, she talks about this road trip that her and her friend took, right? They had random car tools and bananas, some bagels. And she talks about going from this young lady who loved adventure to somebody whose life was falling apart 20 years later, right? And so for me, when I think about sustainability and how to make sure that, how do I stay that person that loves adventure, but is still, taking care of the things I need to take of on a daily base care of on a daily basis, it is the balance between what you were talking about, right? How do you say, okay, if I'm going to work out, it's between these hours, or dinner is at this time, or this is going to happen at this time, but at the same time, not do that 100% of the time. I feel like I'm saying time a lot. I know that's what we're talking about specifically, but for example, earlier today, I went up to Arabia Mountain with a friend, right? So we knew we were going to meet from 9 to 11, and in that time, I didn't really mind what happened, right? So started at the wrong place, passed where I was supposed to go, went somewhere else, but it's beautiful in the mountains, so I'm counting it as part of the adventure. I thought the majority of the time would be at the park, but clearly more of it is in the car than expected, but I'm okay, So I finally get there and we go a different way, but instead of worrying about where we're going to go, or if we're going to be able to get over this part of the mountain, or if we're going to find the car back, I trust that I'm gonna find my car because I'm going live at 5. We've got to be there. It's episode 122, and that's something that we keep consistent for ourselves, right? But in the wander of being mad about being lost at
Mhm.
9:08, I'm okay.
Good.
It's an
Hey,
adventure, you know?
can I give you a shout out for
Sure.
going hiking
Yeah.
in July in at Arabia Mountain? Can I just like I went walking. I did my 2 mile walk this morning at
Yeah.
7:30 a.m. By 8:30, I was about to die. I was like, I'm glad I'm back in this house with some ice
Yes.
water. So shout out to you, 9 to 11.
Yes, right?
Like
And shout out to you being up there at 7:30, so
right, it's
yeah.
that balance of when do we get things done?
Right.
Yeah,
Because 12, 1, of course, I'm trying not to be out there if I don't have to, but
right.
yeah, it was most important to get the connection and, like you said, the time to wander and the time to
Mm-hmm.
be. So it was great.
Right. Yeah, I want to give a shout out. We were talking before we did the introductions and about the epic road trip I was on
Yes.
with my aunt. And
Yes.
we were on the old Route 66 in Texas, and we pulled off to Vega, Texas,
Mhm.
as per our Roadside America app. And it
Gotcha.
said that there was a giant metal horned toad. Which, do you
Mhm.
know what I'm talking about?
I
These are
think
from
so.
Texas, like,
Yeah, I think
right? I
so.
call
Yeah.
them horny toads, and everybody laughs at me. But it's a giant metal horned toad. It
Yeah.
was not. the
Okay.
The app was lying. I'm just going to say that out loud. It
Wow.
was a
Incorrect
giant
information.
metal ankylosaurus. It was a dinosaur.
Yeah, I don't.
And
Okay.
so we get there. So that's what the app led us to, like right off the highway,
Yeah.
old Route 66. And then there's this Milbourne Price Cultural Museum.
Mm,
So not only is there this giant metal ankylosaurus, there's a 9/11 memorial, there's the world's largest Brandon iron, and
mhm.
there's this all this just kind of funky art in this
Yeah.
giant mural. And then the artist comes out. The artist's name and the museum curator, Greg Kahn was his name. And he comes out and just starts telling us about this little bitty town. That I mean, now the big highway comes through. So, what happened to a lot of Route 66, which people used to travel all the time in the 50s? This
Yeah.
was what people did for vacation. You know, they'd get in their cars and they'd go down this route. Well, a lot of it went away when the big highways came in because people didn't get off the highway.
Right.
Did you ever see the movie Cars?
You know I did.
So,
I
are
love
you ready
cars.
for this? Are you ready
Yeah.
for this?
That's
Do you
what
remember
Richard said.
Flo in the
Which one was
car? It was
slow?
the little oh my gosh, what kind of car was
I don't
Flo?
remember. I remember the truck, the old
Okay,
truck. That's who comes to mind
right,
first.
Mater. Mater is the
Yes.
truck. But
Yes.
Flo, let me see if I took a picture to tell you because you know I
Okay.
document everything.
Yeah, you do.
But Flo is this little. Oh, I'm not a car person, so I'm gonna screw this up, and people that are car people are gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" It was the little black car,
Okay.
and she is. I'm trying to see if in the picture it tells me what kind of car she is.
Let me
I
see.
don't know if it does, but I'm
Okay.
gonna show you. Hang on. I don't know if you can see on my phone. Can you see her?
I can't see her.
Oh,
I
hang
don't
on.
remember the scenes that she was in though. What happened? Tell me
Right?
about it.
Well, so she's in this museum.
Oh.
Like, so this artist comes out. I'm thanking him for his work. I said, "Is the museum open today?" He says it can be. It's usually not. He
Mm,
opens it up for my aunt and I.
wow.
So there's this car from Cars in there. He
Yes.
shows us the picture of the woman. The character was built on two women that they kind of mixed their characters together.
Yes.
And one of them has passed away, so her picture was there. Like it
Mm,
was just this random, wild adventure. And because we were wondering, we ended up spending like 2 hours there.
mm,
Like here, and then we end up he has this Humvee, random Humvee, and he's driving us around the town, showing us all the murals.
yeah.
We pick up this family from Australia who came to get a stamp in their roots. It was one of those weird, wild, wacky.
Yeah.
Who would have thought in Vega, Texas, we would be finding Flo, the car from
Right.
Cars,
No,
right?
really. Because when you say Vega, every time you say, I'm like Vegas, and
No,
I'm going to a
Vega.
whole another state. We're not in Texas anymore. Um, and I love it. And my thing is people might say, who cares about this stuff? Right. It
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of when I was on the beach one day with my ex, and there was this huge plane pulling, the signs that planes pull sometimes. And I said, I wonder what font those letters are. He said, why? Nobody thinks about that. I'm like, one, somebody did. Somebody's got a plane with a sign on
Right?
it. Okay. Two, business owners,
I love that.
people that, you know what I'm saying? People that sell stuff. So
Was
it
it
brings,
like a biplane?
it was like a smaller plane, and there's different signs that they carry, but it
Mm-hmm.
was a single long ribbon rectangle,
I
and it
love
had like,
those.
you know what I mean? So I was looking at it, enjoying the water, enjoying the clouds, and that's what I said.
So another epic moment, and I won't talk about the whole road trip because we don't have 2 hours, but
Yeah.
another moment, 4th of July. We're leaving from close to Durango, Colorado, heading towards Denver. We're
Mhm.
going through a small town. It was a Springs town. I can't remember what it was. But this flyover happened, Shannon, with
Mhm.
like 14 biplanes
Mhm.
flying over our car because they were having a 4th of July parade and I
Ooh,
guess an air show. And we're just on this
yes.
epic road trip. And all of a sudden we get this flyover, like literally right over our car. It was just, we kept having things like that happen. And it was just
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah.
So, as exhausting as road trips can be sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think my spirit just got filled up
It's good.
from random things happening.
I
So,
love it. And I think we say things are crazy. I started saying things are strategically orchestrated. I
yes,
don't think that anything happens on accident. And
right,
so I said sometimes people say, well, oh, who cares about this detail, right? But when we have financial wellness, which is what we're talking about today, right? It gives you space to have stuff like this. If that's what interests
right.
you and sets your soul on fire, and I love cars, so I was going to bring it up if you didn't bring it up, then you have more moments for that, which is why it's important to talk about it so we can figure out how to steward it, how to improve our wellness, maintain our wellness. And then, yeah, I'm going on adventures on random places and uncharted territories, all types of stuff. Yeah,
Right? I love it. Should we give listeners
the
the
definition.
definition of financial wellness and get our guest up here?
Let's do it.
Because I could talk about this all day, but I really want to hear what our guest has to say today.
Let's do
So,
it.
all right, y'all. Financial wellness is an intentional approach to your relationship with money as a tool. It includes stability with current finances, increasing positive financial behaviors like budgeting, reducing debt, saving, and investing.
Hmm.
Financial wellness incorporates knowledge and skills that helps to change behavior, reduce financial stress, and a creation of a strategic financial plan to reach desired financial goals.
It's important.
Right?
I'm thinking about the habits. How do we like we were talking about tea before we came on, right? I've been thinking
Mm-hmm.
about coffee and I'm out of my coffee and I did a good job. I wasn't, going out to get coffee. I wasn't getting a Java chip frappuccino with no whipped cream, extra Java chips when I want to. Okay. I was at home doing little sleeves of coffee with hot water, right? But even then, when I ran out, I said, you know what? We're not going to go get more coffee. We're going to use the tea that we have and actually wait another day to spend that money, because that's a trick that I love to do, or a rule that I have for myself. If I can wait the next day to spend the money, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm really excited to bring up our expert today as she helps us think about real estate, think about net worth, and our financial wellness. So, Tamoni is committed to achieving her dreams. She worked tirelessly to earn the skills necessary to succeed in the real estate industry. It was this unwavering dedication and determination that eventually led her to start her own successful business. As a mother of four, Timoni knows firsthand the importance of achieving financial stability and independence. Timoni understands the importance of balancing motherhood and career, and she remains committed to empowering other mothers to do the same. Whether it's through mentorship or her real estate business, Tamoni is dedicated to helping others achieve financial stability and success. Welcome, Tamoni, to the stage.
Hello, hello.
Hello, beautiful.
How you ladies doing?
Great.
Oh, so good and so much better now that you're up here to teach us about how to do this, Timoni. Like, I'm so impressed as a mom of four, financial stability, financial success. Our listeners are going to be delighted to meet you and learn how do we do this?
Yes.
I would say I heard Shannon before I came on talking about like budgeting and making sure you kind of, in a sense, what I understood from that was like taking the extra steps to set yourself up. And I think
Yes.
that's very, very important, being conscious about where you spend your money. Because right now we're dealing with a lot of like inflation and differences in how much things used to cost versus how much they're costing now. And I know I feel it and have had to make some adjustments, so I think that's really important to just be mindful of the little things that take a big impact over time
Yes.
on your savings and what you can then do and maneuver. Because buying a home and investing in real estate is definitely an investment and something you have to put down as a plan because it can take time to get yourself there because of the many different steps and layers that exist with getting the process done. Um,
Absolutely.
I was just having this, and I'm going to put it on quotes, discussion with my husband this morning
Okay.
about inflation. And, because he's like, where has our discretionary income gone? Like, who's spending what? And I'm like, baby, have you seen the price of like milk and eggs lately
yes,
and
the
bread?
basics.
right? Things
Yes.
that when you think, oh, it's not that much more, but when overall your food bill is 50 to $100 more, which could easily happen over this last 2 years. It
Absolutely.
Yes.
is, yeah. So how do we save that, and how do we look towards real estate investment?
Okay. I would say the first step would be coming up with, and I guess we could start like really with the basics, with even like the roadmap to buying a home. The first thing that you would do is have a consultation with an agent to kind of find out, in a sense, like what changes you'll be experiencing. Like, if, like you said, some people are in apartments currently, or some people are even in a home that is a little more expensive, or just whatever your situation is. It will be sitting with a professional and just finding out where you're at and what your plan is and what you would like to do, so that they can get you in touch with the right people to make that happen. Because after that, because we don't handle financing, your agent would usually get you in touch with a loan officer or somebody to get your mortgage started. They would then look at your personal situation and then let you know like where you are and what things you need to put in place. Like, I know most people have student loans, and right now they had a thing where you weren't paying on your student loans, but I've heard that now we're going to be implementing something where at least you're going to
Yes.
be paying something. um, Over when you're trying to go get a mortgage, the thing is you do want to be paying at least something. The good thing is, I heard also now it'll be based off your income, so it won't be so high. So when they're doing like your debt to income ratio and things like that with the mortgage, which is different for each person, so again, that's why it's really important. You'll then know, like, if you need to cut back and not go to Starbucks as often, or if you need to cook at home instead of eating the burger out, as tempting as it is and as sometimes inconvenient as it can be. It's just like the little things that also help your health and
Yes.
can save you some money should be the things that I feel like are a little easier to implement versus, like, I think it's important to still do a date night sometimes. I wouldn't cut out date night. I
Absolutely.
would cut out the, the extra burger. I would
Yeah.
cut out the extra milkshake, or the, I don't know, like the small things that don't necessarily affect your wellness overall. And I guess I should say it plain like this. It's picking and choosing what things you want to put your time and energy into, so that you're setting yourself up for the best option or best opportunity for success in this situation.
Absolutely.
I agree
So
with you 100%,
Yeah.
Tamani. And I
yeah.
would add, the only thing I would add on that on date night
Mhm.
is my husband and I like to often will write down little slips of paper of things that we love to do that are free or very low cost.
Yes.
And so instead of
Yes.
always going for like the high, like, dinner and a show or something that can be $100 or $200, we'll sometimes pick out of the jar that's something free that we love to do,
Yes.
like
And
Yes.
going for a hike or, you know,
picnics.
Yes.
picnic. Ooh, old
Mm-hmm.
school romance
Mm-hmm.
when we
Yes.
were in college and had no money. Yes,
Yes.
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 I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
So I think that we should, especially with it being the financial wellness episode, right? Break it
Mhm.
down a little bit with the numbers. Because what I've been
Okay.
saying recently,
What
ladies,
mhm,
is like $30 is the new 20. And then I
mhm.
went to Papado the other day, and you ladies know I used to work at Papado, and I should know this, right? I'm paying. And I said, oh, but when you go to nice restaurants, expect maybe double that. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
when I'm looking at my budget for groceries and it's $100 a week, if I spent $75 after a tip on one meal, that's compared to my grocery budget, which is $100 a week. If I pay that once, okay, but the way I see it, again, when I'm thinking about the budget and being intentional, when you eat out, you're multiplying it. Now that's 70 times 21, because I plan on eating at least 3 times a day, might be 5 to 6, but that's physical wellness. We talking about financial, right? So instead of multiplying, now we're dividing. Now it's 100 divided by 21. Well, now that makes me feel a little bit better, so that, and in addition to saying, hey, I want to support this person's business. So right now, if I need a new bonnet, I'm thinking about it, right? I want
Mhm.
one that ties in the back. I'm like, oh, Precious has a bonnet company. She used to be one of my servers at Papado, right? Instead of
Mhm.
going to the hair store that I was beside yesterday, I waited, didn't even go in. I'm gonna check
I
Precious's
love that.
website before I, and then see what I wanted. I'm still gonna weigh it. What would I like to do? But I'm gonna give her the opportunity to, of course, be included in the cash flow because, like you said, we're intentional about where we spend the time and where we spend the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
Thank you. So I want to hear more about, I hear you on the real estate, right? And
Mhm.
what I know, I look forward to being a real estate investor. There's a
Mhm.
list of different ways to be involved, right? So
Yes.
what type of projects do you do? And I hear you on the, what'd you say, the roadmap to buying a home. How did you
Yes.
take the steps to lead you to what you do in real estate right now?
Hmm. Okay, wait. Are you asking me to continue the roadmap to success? Or are you asking me what was the question?
I think let's continue. Excuse me if I wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Let's continue the roadmap to buying a home because that's what I wanted to make sure that I had you finish because I want to know too. So we're at,
Okay.
who's the right person to get in contact with, right? After you sit down
Mhm.
with that person and they're saying, where are you at? What's your plan? Who do you need to
Mhm.
talk to next? What else do you do if we're trying to pursue independence and are intentional about our dollars and deeds?
I would actually get with a couple of different mortgage officers or loan officers in general and compare rates.
Compare
Because,
rates.
yes, compare
Mhm.
rates. You're allowed to do that and you should be doing that because you want the best rate and every little percentage matters.
Yes, it does.
The numbers matter. And if you're running anything, I think it's always important to find some kind of system.
Mhm.
Or, like I said, if you're working with a professional, or if you call me, we can
Yes,
find out like what would make sense for you. Even because what also happens is sometimes they'll approve you for more than you want to spend.
right,
And again, the thing is to not get a home and then totally max yourself out and not be able to do anything but go home and
right.
thing. It's to, it's supposed to be a happy time. It's supposed to help increase your net worth over time because like as you're living in it, it's building equity and things of that sort. So at
Yes,
some point, as long as you're keeping yourself clean, because you do still have to have good credit, you could potentially even use your house as leverage to loan against and have money to put down on either another home if you're really trying to get into investments or
yes,
your kids or just anything that's important to you. I feel
right.
like it's a good thing to have because it sits there and just over time it grows with you. And
Yes,
if you use it properly and even if you're not ready to necessarily move in a home, if you qualify for one and are willing to just take a few steps, you could even get your home rented out temporarily to where someone else is currently paying a mortgage until you're ready to take on those kind of responsibilities. Um,
right.
it does take a little more like doing, but you can set it up to where you're not constantly doing a whole bunch of work. Just at the beginning, you have to just put certain things in place. Um,
Absolutely.
there's options like short-term rental, like Airbnb, Verbo, different things like that. That
What
also
is
work.
what did you said, Burvo?
Verbo, VRBO.
Verbo. What's that?
Vacation renter,
Vacation.
rental by owner.
Mm,
Yeah.
It's a little bit
mm,
older than Airbnb, but it's a very good platform, and a
yeah,
lot of the people there are very like mature. We used it when we were doing our short term rental, and that was
mhm.
like our favorite.
But it's
Um,
different than it's like a Airbnb, but a timeshare. Like a
no,
timeshare is
it's
Airbnb.
actually just a different company, like just their way about going about the short term rental business.
That makes sense. Okay, okay.
They.
I follow a gal on Instagram, and I don't have her in front of me, or I would tell you her name, but she's local. She's in Atlanta, and she bought a house, and then she built a tiny house behind it. And
Yes.
she moved into the tiny house because she
Mhm.
wanted to travel and rents out her house. And that
Yes.
pays for both. And now she's
Yes.
got double the rental. And
Yes.
I'm like, you
That is the
go,
way to do it.
girl.
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
right? Like, that was
Yes.
cool.
It's
yes.
using all your resources and really like not being scared to think outside of the box.
Mhm.
Because like just because you get a home, you're like, oh well, no, but I like apartment living and I don't want to have to worry about fixing anything or you don't have to go that route. You
Mm,
can still have the level of ownership and in a sense control over what is happening with the particular property and not have to even be there and like I said put in some of the work that people are concerned about sometimes when going into the idea of even purchasing a home.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So if I could, because I wanna make sure, especially people like me, I again look forward to owning homes, right? Let's not even say look forward to owning homes, look forward to being a real estate investor. I
Mhm.
want to make sure that I understand this process and I feel like it's completely new because for my intellectual wellness, I haven't started delving into it because we're doing
Mhm.
audiobooks and all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
So I hear you on the percentages, and things you want to look for when you are working on the roadmap and the steps to success to buying a home, right? What is the
Mhm.
percentage that you think is a healthy range? And I asked this for example, like when I hear that you're going to give me 1% cash back, and then I see these credit card companies mailing me stuff with 29.87%. Now I know as I continue to work on my credit, those percentages that I see in this credit card, companies will get better, but they're
Mhm.
still going to be astronomical compared to the return that we're going to get at the bank account sometimes, especially depending on where and how we're accruing interest on our money,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So when we're going into the process of buying a home, what is a healthy percentage and numbers that you would say? And I know it's subjective, but if you can't give a number, what are important details that we can be conscious of to be
Okay.
strategic when we're
And
looking at that?
maybe I'll just here's how I'll say it like this.
Okay.
I'm gonna read the numbers. If we were doing, okay, if you're purchasing a $300,000 home, okay, the first
Yes.
thing would be the down payment.
Mhm.
The down payment can range anywhere between 3.5 to 20%, just depending on what type of loan you have. So
Okay.
this would mean you would need, if you had an FHA loan, you would need 10,500 to put down.
Okay.
And if you were doing the full 20% for conventional, it would be 60,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then the closing cost is also what
Mhm.
you had. That's another thing. So step
Right.
one is down payment. Step two
Right.
is closing costs. Again, closing costs. It's like it varies from person to person because
Right.
it's percentage rates and stuff like that. But closing costs typically range between 2% and 5%
Okay.
of the loan amount. So if it's a
Okay.
$300,000 home, you would expect to pay between 6,000 if you were at the 2% and
Right.
15,000 if you were
Okay.
at the 5%.
So on the high side, 75,000 right now.
Yes, on the
Okay.
high side we're at 75,000, and on the lower side we are at 16,500.
Okay.
Okay, with an FHA. A,
Right.
a lot of people like to start with FHA to get in so that you're doing the lower down payment. And then if you qualify for conventional, changing it later to get like the other benefits that come from having a conventional loan.
So the two, can you
Hmm.
explain FHA and conventional?
Okay.
And I know you asked me what questions. I know these are very specific
Yes.
questions.
And you know what? Let me first though, before I go into the
Yeah.
difference between those two,
Yes, yes,
your
of course.
credit, okay, is also important.
Because that's a
Because I
big
don't I
gap.
don't want to move. Yes, I don't want to move
Yes.
on to the difference between. I'll talk about the difference next. But the third thing is maintaining your credit, okay,
Yes. Yes.
and just making sure that it is what 620 higher if you can, so that you're kind of getting, you can qualify for
You can do it.
conventional.
Yes. Yes.
At the minimum credit score for FHA is 580. So most people do qualify, but again, there's different things that are added to make your mortgage payment slightly higher. So that's why
Right.
people tend to try to
And
go the other route, even though you're
absolutely.
putting less down. It's to
Yes.
benefit you because you do have a lower credit score.
Yes.
So again, if you could ever do FHA first and then switch, then they want stable income,
Hmm.
just a stable, steady 2 years of tax records, whether you're a business or an individual, and just having that and be able to show it, which is why I say it's a long-term process where you have to know so that your tax records are matching up with what you think you'd want to be purchasing, and just all your debt to income kind of flows together appropriately. And like I said, the mortgage pre-approval, which that is going to each mortgage officer and kind of just finding out who has the best rate, right down to if someone's offering 4.5 and someone's offering 4 or 4.1, that 0.1 matters. So always go with the lower one,
Yes.
and do your numbers. And then just working again with a real estate professional who you trust and who knows what you need, and you guys can communicate well so that it's like a clear and as clean as it can be.
Yeah. And I want to give some even some more clarity to that, right?
Okay.
Because I have a couple of friends who are in real estate, right? Surround
Mm-hmm.
yourself with people who are doing what you want to do. So I
Mm-hmm.
love you guys being in my community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a situation where they had a client that had been working with somebody else, somebody who people know, and you're supposed to know what they're talking about, and telling you that you might have a loan that you don't qualify for, or it doesn't work like that, or that's not the right order. So I hear you saying, check the numbers, make sure it makes sense, and be as strategic as possible, and be preventative and proactive by maintaining your credit score, and then also comparing rates. And when you
Mm-hmm.
compare rates, you're not only looking at how much this person is charging you, you're looking at, how do we work together? Do I want to go see all these houses with this
Mm-hmm.
person? Are they
Yes.
qualified? Are they telling me the right things to
Yes.
successfully take me down this roadmap that I want
Yes.
to
Do I
go
feel
down?
comfortable? Yes.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I hear
Mm-hmm.
you saying those things. Okay, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
with you.
Because it's a big deal, so you should feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's your journey, and along that particular journey, it should be, because it is so many things and it is a big deal. Like, it should be something that you can look back and be like, okay,
Yeah.
that I did that, and that was okay, and I'm okay.
Yes.
So
And I want to give some space too, because we've been putting up her comments. Coach Co, we see you saying hey, and you need this. So super grateful for you to be here, Timoni. Coach Co is one of our Amazon best-selling authors. She's in both volume
hello.
one and volume two, and she talks about like moving state lines, expectations and relationships, and how we take care of ourselves, right? So this is huge for ladies we know with real estate and independence. So happy for you to be here with us, Co.
Well,
Okay,
and the
Timoni.
social wellness piece of this that also goes with
Yeah,
financial wellness. Because
of
when you think
course.
about our homes, like
Yeah.
whether we're renting or buying, or, how they weave together with the social wellness pieces of our lives.
Right. And we were doing the numbers yesterday. I like, sometimes I just like to run numbers. And I see you go. And my rent when I had to move out and didn't have the money for it, right? Rent by itself was 1,100. So I
Mhm.
said in the last 3 years, I would have spent, it was like $39,000, right? So we'll round up to 40 because you have utilities and everything.
Mhm.
And then back in the day, there was some really nice apartments by where I worked. Those were like $4,000. So we added that up, and that's like $144,000, something like that in the last 3 years. So for us, when we're talking about using money as a tool, it makes sense, Timoni, when you say your house is $300,000, we might hesitate. Can I say yes to that? Do I want to spend that much money? But over time, what are you going to be spending? It's the difference of okay, you have a mortgage now, but if the rate makes sense, you might be spending less than what is rent now. I don't even
Yes.
want to know, depending
Yes.
on where you live, right? So it depends on a long-term game and setting you up so that we can be strategic in other areas. And we know how finances, ebb and flow into the different dimensions, but I just want to give more specifics to that.
Okay.
I also just
Yeah.
want to add in from personal experience. When we moved here from Texas to Georgia, we leased a home. We were
Mm,
leasing, and we got comfortable because it's easy to pick up the phone when a tree falls and have somebody come take care of it when
Yes.
you're leasing. But what we didn't have was control, and
Mm.
our landlord was not paying the mortgage, even though we were faithfully paying the lease. And
Mhm.
we surprisingly got an eviction notice,
Ah,
and so we were like, oh yeah, we're buying a house. So we got approved and bought a
yes.
house because it's like
Yes.
in some ways, you have more control. Now,
yes.
we all know, especially in America,
Mhm.
things can happen and they
Right.
can come and take your property and they can, right away and all
Mhm.
that jazz. But
Mhm.
overall,
Right.
I would say, and I'm hoping you would agree, Timoni, but I'd love your expert opinion, is
Mhm.
that when we own a home,
Mhm.
sometimes we have more control over like what is going on with our life.
So much more control over, because like what you said, if you are leasing, if the person happens to not be paying the mortgage with your lease money and they go under foreclosure or anything happens, you're usually the last to find that out unless something comes through the mail or someone comes knocking at your door. And just even having, I know even during COVID, if you owned your home, they had different programs where you could even just take, and some people really needed it. I know there were different, you were sacrificing different things to some level, but at some point, people just needed help. So even being able to take some of your mortgage payments and put them on the back of your loan just to make it through the process was some things that people had having that type of ownership. Versus I also was hearing stories of people who, because they were leasing and the people couldn't pay, they just stopped paying and they had to move and just figure out how to move really, really fast, not knowing what's going on. And I'll even point out, just even when you're in a relationship or you're getting married, when we are talking about ownership, being mindful to make sure that your name goes on the deed. If it's something that you two are doing together, it's making sure that your name goes on the deed, because the deed is what defines ownership at the end of the day. And what's going to happen at the end when it's time to split things and when people have to just figure things out. And usually it's guaranteed when you're married. But I know that in today's day and age, it's not always a thing where everybody's getting married so quickly. But if you find yourself in a situation where you are just like living and doing, and y'all are at the point where you could still do it together, I wouldn't hesitate just because you're not ready for marriage, because if you are living together, you still are sharing finances, and that is an important thing to be properly investing in together if you're going to be there. So ownership is always important because it gives you control, it gives you say so, it gives you comfort, and it does at the end of the day make you feel just more secure about your life and along your journey.
Absolutely.
It also gives you a tax break. I was reading an article the other day about, is it time to give tax breaks for renters? Because, this is another way the system is set up for white people. Because when you think about how much more access to loans, and you think about to all of this is another place where the system, there are definitely some inequities. And so I was reading this article about, wait a second, like, there's a lot of money going into rentals that people don't get tax breaks on. But those of us that have a mortgage get a tax break. And so I want to lift up Coach Co. She has a question. She says, now you're asking a realtor, so I think I know the answer to this question. She says, is it time to buy?
Yes. Because, like you said, the money that you are putting on rent will be going into your mortgage and your loan to potentially put you in a better place over time. It doesn't happen like tomorrow. It's not like, oh, I got the house and now my net worth's increased and everything's great. I mean, you can have some situations like that, but that's not the common thing, which is why I say it's a time thing and just setting yourself up. I still always think it's better to own, because then you have control. Because then at the point that that home does get equity, or even the apartment, let's just say all the money or whatever you're putting into that, if there's anything to pull from it, they pull from it, not you.
Who is they?
The person who owns it, whomever they are.
Wait, can you say it again?
When you're paying your apartment, when you're paying if you stay in a home, whenever you're leasing, you are putting in.
Yes,
but you have no potential to pull from it because you don't own it.
You're not
and
written
that
in.
is the importance of ownership. If it is yours and you own it, you have some level of control over what happens with it. And that alone possibility just opens up doors for you versus just leasing. You only have what you agreed to on that contract. That's what's available to you.
Right. And so for me, this is the caveat though, right? Because we know that even if this is the better option, should you do it now?
Yes, because
I would say it depends, especially because I'll let you, what do you think?
Only reason why I say more yes is it's a time thing.
Yes.
Because like I said, it's a time game. Things aren't getting cheaper. And the percentage rates aren't necessarily going down. And at the point that they do, you can refinance, which is, again, the importance of making sure all of the steps are taken care of and you maintain your credit and you find something you can afford and you just keep all the things, because it's not, just the one thing fixes it. Like, yes, it's a good time to buy, but yes, you also have to have a plan. That's why that's step one. And it's not a time to buy for everyone, but if you can, I think it is a good time.
Absolutely.
Because then you're putting your toe in the water sooner, just giving it potential just to get warm for you a little quicker than the person who waits 10 years from now. Because all that time it's building, that's how it's a time thing. It's not okay, I did it and now, look at me. It's like I planned this and this is going to work for me, and I'm trying to make sure it works for me. I'm looking at the area at which I buy the home to make sure that it's a decent area, so I'm only getting gains. Which is why, again, it's important to do the research and to talk to professionals and to just make sure you're taking all the steps and it's not rushed and you really think about it. But yes, it's definitely a time to buy, because
Yes.
we're still not even at our parents' rates, which they were in like the double digits, like 18 something percent to
Right.
buy a home. And that was normal. We've
Yeah.
been lucked out and got a little spoiled, but I think we're still doing okay.
Yeah. So I still, and this is why we have
Yeah,
conversations
go
like
ahead, go
this. We
ahead.
said we got to bring all the perspectives to the podcast.
Mhm,
I still say,
mhm,
knowing that Co is a teacher, if you're asking me right now, I say
mhm,
no, because
mhm,
your first step is not buying a home. Like you said, it's the plan. Where are
mhm,
you? And then talking to these people, sifting the professional that you're going to work with. And so, with me working on jumping quadrants, right? Going from an employee and a high level manager to owning my own business, listening to different people's advice, seeing how people sift through advice. You shouldn't listen to this person. You shouldn't listen to that person. Most of these things are subjective, just like
mhm,
advice for your body, advice for your skin, your diet, right? There's a multitude of ways to do things. What I've learned about the economy, we know that we're going to have the opportunity again. Even if the prices are going up, there's still the cycle that the economy does, right? And when the recession comes back, the prices for the houses will go down. My goal, I said I want to be a real estate investor, is
mhm,
to be in the right position. So that's why I've started working on my credit this year, right? That's why 2
mhm.
years ago, we already started working the hours so that we could save up the money to be in the businesses now, so I can set up the businesses and then go do that. So is now a great time to buy a house? Tamoni says yes. I back you as my expert. You say now is a great time to buy a house. Get with a professional that can help you know where you are so you can figure it out. Because if you can, now is the time to do that. But for my intellectual wellness and where I see that women are and how we beat ourselves up about, oh, I didn't do it. Well, if you didn't have the energy or the capacity or the intellectual bandwidth to learn how to do it for the first time, connect to the experts and do it how it should be done, then that this cycle around the economic circle is not the time. Get ready for when it comes back. That's how I'm thinking about it. What do you think about that?
I would say that I understand what you're saying as
Yeah,
far as preparation, because to
right.
me that is key.
And not
But
being perfect,
and
but
not be, and it
if
doesn't
you
need to
if
be
you can't
perfect,
afford
but
it right now, maybe not try to jump over there.
I think like it's coming up with a plan. That is the
Yes.
first thing, but it's
Yes.
also being open to being creative, because
Yes.
even with her, if she is not ready to move into her home
Mhm.
for herself, it's
Yeah.
just even having the ownership and then finding it, and that is again making sure the numbers make sense,
Yeah.
but renting out the home so
Right.
that the mortgage is being covered, and instead of it being a burden on her, it's kind of like something that's just sitting over there, because you don't
Absolutely.
necessarily have to be making any income. You just don't want
Exactly.
to have to pay the mortgage
So
because
you're passing
you don't
over
want
the
it on
cash
you.
flow.
Yes, you
Yeah.
I would say still just going for it, because then in the next 5 years or over the year, because you usually lease it out for a year at a time,
Yeah.
as long as that's being covered, you're still getting the gains. You still have the ownership. You still have the control. You even
Yeah.
still have just the satisfaction of knowing if anything happens, you have somewhere to go.
Mhm.
But also, you're stuck at whatever that rate is. And if the rates go down, you can refinance and make
I
them
hear you.
lower. But you notice more, I
Well,
mean, even leasing is going up. People are paying
Yes.
2,000, three
Yeah, they
thousand
are.
for leases.
Yeah,
When you
they
have a
are.
mortgage, it is your mortgage.
It's
It
set.
is set, and then you
I hear
just
you.
go from there, and then you raise the leases on other people, which
Right.
then by the end of it you are making profits. So
And that's
now your
passive cash
mortgage is
flow.
being covered, you
right.
have passive income, and you could do what you want.
Yep.
Well,
Like
and I think, Timoni, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they just said rates did not go up, but they are going to go up. So, like, the
that's what
word
they,
on the street
yes, is
is
that,
it
is
they're
yes,
going
that
up.
word, yes, yes. I
So,
mean, yeah.
yeah. So that, and
Yeah.
I would also say, I just want to give a shout out to my baby sister Katie, because when she got her first real job, she bought a house. She cried for 3 days when she did it because she was like, "Am I making a mistake?" But then she had roommates, and
Yes,
they paid her mortgage.
Mhm.
And then when she
yes,
sold that house, she had the money to start a company or to do what she wanted to do.
yes,
And so that is, I know that doesn't work for everybody, but like you said, Timoni, I really about that creativity.
Mhm.
Like, have fun, get creative,
yes,
and see how, because I don't know. I think about our credit. I think about all this. I think about our systems. And it's a game.
Yeah, it is.
It's a game.
Yeah.
It's
If
often rigged against people, but if you can
Yes.
figure it out,
yeah.
like, you can have fun, and it's a
Right.
Yeah.
game.
And so that's what it brings me to, right? Like I said, when I think about Timoni, I think about you over there winning and you had a pizza company and all these different things. I'm said she knew how to set up the portfolio so
What?
that she got out the rat race, right? And when we talk about, I'm sorry, I got you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was only
Um,
gonna. I'll share a story with you afterwards. Go ahead.
okay, I got you. And then we'll talk about self-care and how you
Okay.
balance it and we'll wrap it out.
Okay.
But what I think about jumping the quadrants, right? Because it
Hmm.
is a shift in the mindset from it's not right now to how can I creatively do it? I still hold the anchor of if the capacity and your intellectual wellness, if you have too much on your plate,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be right now, right?
Hmm.
That's always going I feel like that's always going to trump. Of course we can make it
Yeah.
happen.
But it
But
starts
outside
with
of
you.
that,
Hmm.
exactly. And
Hmm.
then outside of that, as a business owner now thinking about replacing myself in positions, I had to learn that that was okay. I know I'm unique, right? You cannot replace Shannon and have somebody else be like me, but I
Hmm.
do want somebody else selling Shalo Glow. Yes, I want at least 5 other people across Atlanta starting out, and so I can be somewhere else. And so that is the goal, to remove yourself from the positions and also the cash flow. I know in business, I don't have to use my own money. I can use other people's money. So I
Hmm.
absolutely hear what you ladies are saying. And hey, sit down with a professional, sift a couple of people, see what rates make sense, see how you can make it work. And what I love about real estate is that, again, you can do it a list of different ways. It could be Airbnb, it can be what I think about is wholesaling, right? You have a buyer,
Yeah.
that person does the down payment, the owner does the closing costs. You know what I mean? And then in the middle,
Hmm.
you have something that you get because you help these two people get what they were looking for. So I want to know, my last question for you, Timoni, because we're talking about financial wellness, right? Dollars, deeds, and the pursuit of independence.
Hmm.
This is just not about paying less in every month and going from renting to owning. This is about net worth and really building your portfolio the way you need it to have financial freedom. When
Hmm.
you think about real estate and net worth, can you tell us a little bit about, before we go into the self-care,
Okay.
a little bit about why real estate is a great vehicle for that and what you were sharing with me about how it helps you increase your net worth faster than other places that you might do that?
Um, I've hold on. All right. So the things real estate pretty much the ways in which I feel like it increases your net worth is appreciation. First, number one. So over time, that means over time the value tends to increase or appreciate, which can boost your net worth because that's what's included in calculating just all the things that make up you as the individual. You can use it as rental income. Okay. Like I said, renting it out. And that is basically a way to increase because at the end, you end up having income from the purchase.
Yes.
Leverage, the fact that you can pull out your equity over time, which you can then invest in another business or to buy another home, a duplex, a triplex,
Yeah,
a
all of it.
whatever at
An
some
apartment
point.
building.
Yeah,
To get
apartment
my money
building,
back.
which then
Yes.
kind of leads right back into the rental income because then
Yes.
through that, you're getting rental income.
Mhm.
It gives you different tax benefits.
Mhm.
So it's not like just, you're just putting the money in thing and you're not getting any savings back on the other end. And diversification. It's
Mhm.
just basically it's one of the least risky ways to just increase your net worth that have been seen like similar to like stocks, but that's a long-term thing that just does what it has done for everybody, which is why most people take that route because
Right.
it's just one of the easier straightforward ways. And
To accumulate
again,
wealth.
accumulate wealth and you can live in it, rent it. It's something you can just do whatever. You can take pictures of it. It's just you
Right.
just have a lot of different just options. um I think that when we hear like net worth and just financial freedom and things like that, we make it a little bit more like complicated than
Yeah.
it needs to be because it is like such a big deal and it does affect our everyday life and just our experience through life.
Yes.
But just remember that we are all people and we are all very, very capable, regardless of how we go about it. And
Yes.
that's why I say it's just being mindful of like who you are as a person and knowing your strong points and just being willing to talk and ask the questions just so that you're setting yourself where you really want to be, because success is up to each individual. It's not for someone else to determine for you. If you don't think a house is important, it may not be important to you, like you said, right now.
Right.
But if
Right.
you are just listening to the different options, it may be something that you find can work for you. So it's
Right.
just finding out the information and going about it, whether you need to rent out rooms, whether you need to get you a tenant for a year, whether you need to
Yeah.
put it short term, whether it needs to be a family member who you know has
Mhm.
kids who needs a place and they've been
Yes.
struggling, but you know they could pay the rent, but they can't thing, and you just work something out with them.
Together.
Yeah,
Yes.
you just have options. So it's just utilizing what's available to you and just going for it and doing your best and just again asking questions and just making sure
Yes.
you're kind of feeling comfortable through the process, because if you feel uncomfortable you may need to ask more or switch up the people you're working with.
That makes sense.
Well, we're all about connections here at Women Connected in Wisdom. So, like, find somebody like Tamoni.
Yes.
We
Like
put
me.
your info along the bottom of the screen. We'll put it in our show notes. You are in North Atlanta, right? Is
Yes,
that
yes,
the
yes.
area you cover?
Yep. Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
Coach Co specifically, she could be your realtor and answer all your questions,
Hi.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And Timoni, do
I
you
would
also
love it.
sell homes for folks?
Yes, that's my favorite thing to
Okay.
do. Yes,
All right.
yes,
Cool.
yes,
Good to
yes.
Yes.
know.
Yes. My favorite. Yes. I love
That's
it.
my favorite. Make it pretty.
Yes, and I hear what you're saying on all the different ways, right? That's what's been making up my income right now as I step from, again, being an employee to a business owner is making money different ways with the same thing.
Yes.
So I hear you on the tax benefits. It can help you save more money and have more money to use for other things throughout the
Mhm.
year, right?
Down
Leverage,
payments. Mhm.
right, leverage equity. So instead of getting a loan outside, you have
Mhm.
more authority and you're coming in on a foundation that you've already built on, and you can do something else that might continue to give you tax
Yes.
benefits and more
Mhm.
rental income, XYZ. And then rental income is something that won't be tied up in like owner's distributions. If you do decide to start a business, it'll just be, let's say, $1,100 into your bank account that you decide to either pay your own mortgage or rent with or do whatever
Mhm.
you want with. And then I hear you on the diversification of how you want to split your portfolio. So
Mhm.
thank you for those specifics. So with
Okay.
helping everybody through this stuff, and now that we are almost at an hour, I will tailor it even down further to just general self-care, to the wisdom in action. Each week we take something that is tied to the dimension of wellness. So financial wellness. What is something that you are doing for yourself, for your self-care this week that you're putting in action?
This week, what am I doing for my self care?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well. Mhm.
if you wanna go last, you can go last. If you
Okay.
feel like you're not gonna,
Yeah.
okay, you
Yeah.
so
You go
I'll
right.
go
Mhm.
first since you
Mhm.
relaxed, right? So give
Mhm.
Christine a second. And I will say that I am, oh, I like got a couple of them. So let's say, setting up more streams. I'll say setting up more streams, right? Because we are doing the audiobook this week and we're also working on, so the narrators will get more royalties on our quarterly royalty days for Connected in Wisdom Press, right? And I will also say um, grant success plan, because I am actively working on the success plan for the grant that I have through the retail space in Bank of America with Sweet Auburn Works. So those are my action steps: setting up more streams for Women Connected in Wisdom and doing my stuff for that side of it for Shayla Glow. What about you, Christine? What's your wisdom in action?
My wisdom in action this week around financial wellness.
Uh,
I refreshed a spreadsheet for our budget, and we're
Mm,
doing an audit of our budget with
good.
because, like we said, things can creep up on us.
Of course.
Inflation. It's summer.
Yes.
I don't know about y'all, but we spend more money in the summer. Everybody's home,
Mm,
and you're trying to have fun, and
yeah.
yeah, and it can sneak up on you. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa. So that's what I'm doing. I'm refreshing and auditing the budget.
I like that. And again, we did go to Arabia Mountain, and at first we were going to eat. And I said, I need something free. I want to keep the social time on the calendar, but I need to not spend money every time. And like Timoni said it, I was like, you know what? We're not spending money. We're being physically active. This is probably, better for a lot of reasons. What's your wisdom in action this week, Timoni?
Okay, so this week I have been updating my calendar
Hmm.
because I'm coming up on so many different things and back to
Yes.
school and preparing for the kids. And like I have a really, really busy schedule. So just seeing everything written out and like kind of just preparing whatever needs to be prepped for it. We got a few like birthdays. And then I'm
Yes.
also getting some estimates on a bathroom renovation we're gonna do on the basement bathroom so
Love
that we
it.
could potentially run it out to increase the
Yes.
passive income. So
Yes.
that again, it kind of aids with this pull that I know everybody I talk to is feeling.
Great
Um,
space, y'all. Full downstairs. It's gonna have a kitchen, a bathroom. If somebody needs a
yeah,
space, yes, we'll let you know when it's renovated.
yes. But those kind of things just to kind of create just future peace of mind.
I
I'm
love it.
I'm thinking ahead.
Hello.
I love that, thinking ahead and planning, having a plan. That's what I'm one of. There's so much to take away from our conversation today, Timoni, but I feel like we could keep talking for a couple more episodes. So we may have to have you come back about
Yeah.
financial
I would
wellness.
love that.
So,
I'd love it.
Let's talk about it. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise. It's been an honor to know you, an honor to share your work in the world. And again, we will put your information in our show notes. So if they're like, yeah, I need to work with Timoni, these people don't know what they're talking about, they know where to find you. And reach out to Timoni so she can help you guys on your roadmap to buying a house and helping you with your dollars, deeds, and pursuit of independence. See you later, Timoni. Thank you so much. Peace. So good.
right? I know we're
Yes.
already over time, but I
You're
was
good
like, that
though.
was
An
such a
hour
good
and 44 seconds.
conversation.
Yes. We
So,
did
anything
good.
that folks know before we close this out?
No, no, not for the general public, but if you are listening, because we know we have we will see you in the community. We have our classes today. So if you guys are interested in things like becoming an Amazon bestseller and learning how to do a campaign for that for your audiobook, if you're interested in things like a speaker one sheet, we're building ours tonight. And again, the community is closed, but go on over to our website and get connected to everything that we're doing. So when it opens back up, you will have what you need to get on that list so we can work in conjunction with you and collaborate in all the projects and great things that we're working on.
Right. And if you want to meet us in person, we are
Yes.
going to be doing a book signing in
Yes.
Columbia, South Carolina at All Good Books. What date are we doing that?
July 22nd.
All right, July 22nd. Thank you. I can't
Yes,
even
I
keep
got
up
you.
with myself right now.
Hey, you did a
Yep,
whole
we see you,
podcast.
Coach Co. We'll send that over.
Yes.
So grateful to be connected. So grateful for these expert guests that come in and teach us how to do this. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, and grateful to be back. We've been exercising our social wellness and occupational wellness, and we haven't been here. We weren't here last week, so grateful to be here with you guys again for episode 122. We'll see you live next week at 5. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. Peace.
peace.